the key factors that contribute to a successful entrepreneur? Is it their character, their ability to take initiative, or their leadership skills within their team? In today's episode, we have a special guest from Vietnam who will shed light on the power of networks and partnerships in the context of a successful journey as a social entrepreneur. She has effectively managed her social enterprise, attracting stakeholders, garnering support, and securing funds for her environmental initiatives. Hello and welcome to Season 7 of the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Nguyen. And my mission is to unveil the inspiring stories and proven strategies of Asian women entrepreneurs. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Redbox Studio. If you're interested in collaborating with me to amplify your impact and influence, be sure to visit womenpreneurasia.com. In today's episode, we are joined by the dynamic Vietnamese entrepreneur Jolly Nguyen. She is the visionary founder behind EVOL Vietnam, a social enterprise dedicated to raising awareness among urban citizens about the urgent need to reduce single-use plastics and prevent them from polluting our oceans through community-driven projects. This is our second attempt at recording this conversation as we encountered some audio issues the first time. Jolly is a highly connected individual and her experiences underscore the immense power of networking, both directly and indirectly. This theme resonates across many of our past guests. Building meaningful connections and nurturing relationships are integral to achieving success. When we open ourselves up to building connections, we collectively grow and elevate each other to new heights. In my own journey, I co-founded a women entrepreneur organization in Penang in 2006. And to this day, it continues to thrive and expand, benefiting us all. So get ready to be inspired as you listen to today's episode with Jolly Nguyen from Vietnam. Hi, Jolly. Welcome to Womenpreneur Asia.
Hi, Krista. Thank you so much for having me today.
So, Jolly, I know this is our second recording together, but I'm really happy that you said yes to talking to me again, because our first recording, like I mentioned, we tried to make the best audio happen, but it didn't happen. So this time, let's try for a very good, not only a very good audio, but also a very good interview.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Jolly, one of the things I know about you is that you are everywhere. You're doing a lot of things. Maybe we could get into your backstory about why you do so many things, why you're involved in so many initiatives in Vietnam. But if people were to ask you, so Jolly, what do you do? Or what are you most associated with? What would you say?
When people ask me that what I'm doing or what my role is, so I will answer that I'm a founder of my social enterprise. Yeah. And as you also see that I wear a lot of hats. It's one thing that's lucky for me that I can wear a lot of hats at the same time. So as a founder, as a mentor, as an entrepreneur, as a sustainability seeker and adventurer. So anything that I jump in that actually is linked together from each other. And so that support each other and support the field that I jump in and work with. That's why you can see me like everywhere in the world.
So when you said that you are the founder of EVOL, which is an environmental social enterprise,
yeah,
focused on helping the environment and doing more for the environment in Vietnam, what specifically do you do in that respect?
So for my social enterprise, we focus on two things. The first one is empower young people to take the action toward the environmental sustainability issue. And the second one that, because that's environmental sustainability is quite broad. And so it will focus on reducing single-use plastic into the ocean, which is the really huge problem of the world, and especially in ASEAN region. Yeah, so that's the two main things that we focus on in our social enterprise.
So maybe both of us know what single-use plastic is, but probably a lot of people may not know what that term means. Could you elaborate and tell us, what does single-use plastic refer to?
Single-use plastic is plastic that you use just one time and then you throw it away. It's like a styrofoam food container or the milk tea cup, straw, those things, like, or a plastic bag, because you use just one time and then you throw it away.
Does
Maybe just 1 second or 1 minute.
mineral water bottles count as single-use plastic?
Yeah, used to.
Used to.
It also counts. Yeah.
Okay. So in your social enterprise, you empower the youth to do something with these plastics. And what do you do with these plastics?
Yeah, so we do different workshops and training, sharing for young people, especially in urban area. And what we did is that we run the workshop to share about, to raise awareness, to share the knowledge about single-use plastic, not only in Vietnam, but also in the global scale, and how to compare between the region or the nations about that issue. And then we also do the community projects that we bring different stakeholders involved together and to take the action. So we have different projects, different small initiatives. We make eco bricks to reduce the use of plastic, go to the ocean. Yeah.
So when you're talking about eco bricks, I think I've seen those before, right? Where you stuff the plastic into a bottle, a plastic bottle.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of this, and so these are called eco bricks.
Exactly. So basically, eco brick is like so we compress it into, it's hard like a brick. So we bring plastic into the second level, we give them a second life, that they can be the useful material that we can build like as a brick. So we can build a pathway. So for us, that we use that one to build the house and the school for disadvantaged community in Mekong Delta area. And so this is a simple construction, like just one floor of the constructing. So don't like 2 floor and 3 floor. It's really complicated. So it's a simple one. Yeah. So we use that to build a wall, and the basement and the roof still the same, like our traditional one. Yeah.
So when you're talking about making these eco bricks, so I guess it involves a lot of people making them, right?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a lot of volunteers to join us, and also we involve different stakeholders to make that happen when we come to build a house or the school for the disadvantaged community in Mekong Delta area. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this would also be a great way to ask you, so how do you rally all these human hands to come and help you make eco bricks, and after making eco bricks, make or build a partial part of the home?
What we have done so far, that's we get a lot of support from our stakeholders and our volunteers. So the first thing, that's the way that we engage them and welcome them to join our initiative, that the purpose of this project. So we come with our passion of reducing single-use plastic to tackle the global issue, which is plastic waste. And this really affects our life, your daily life. So it touched people, and that's why they join us as a volunteer. And to make that happen, that we have to involve different stakeholders, even from the government, from the other social enterprise, the NGO, businesses, local businesses, and even the universities. So they come to join us to make this project happen. One of the key points we are give them the space to reach their goal together. And we are also lucky that we got the support from them and the engagement from them.
So there must be some sort of secret sauce that you have, Jolly, to make them come together, because I think getting people together sometimes is not that deep. I mean, they really, really believe, they have to believe in the mission of your enterprise. They also have to believe that what they do makes sense to them. And they also have to believe that at the end, what they contribute will also help someone or the community. So what exactly is your secret sauce, Jolly? So that is what we're here to talk about. How to make all things happen, because you have to bring together all the stakeholders. That's for sure. I mean, it's not just the young people, right? You have to literally be like an octopus, right? Like you have to have many hands, holding many things together. So yeah. So I would like to know that from you, from someone who has done it so successfully.
So exactly what you just said, that people join us, stakeholders join us, volunteer join us because they trust our mission. They trust our ability to make it successfully. And they also see that when they contribute to our project, they join our project, they will contribute to the sustainability. They contribute to reduce the plastic waste, which is the global issue, and they bring the impact to the community. So that's like you just mentioned, that all of them are right. So the thing that I don't think that's the secret, but this is kind of strategy that I've used for my business and also for my community, how to engage different stakeholders, how to engage different people to join our initiative. That the first thing that's to show them our passion and our mission, why that why we have to do that, why we need to do that, why we would love to do that. And then show them our ability. So they saw our previous projects and initiative, what have done, and the outcome, the impact that we have created to the community, not only in Vietnam, but ASEAN region as well. So, and then when they come to join us, that I will always like discuss with them the benefits in terms of bringing the good impact to the community. This is what they are looking for. And so when we have the mutual goals to achieve together, so that's why they join us and stick to the project to the end. Last but not least is the communicating. I will always communicate with stakeholders and volunteers during the project from the start to the end. Yeah, and engage them in terms of like tell them a story, show them the field. And normally our project will implement in the field like grassroots community projects. So I think that's the one point that really interests to our stakeholders and volunteers. So not just something that you look at from from the laptop, but something they really see in reality, and they saw it and they feel it. So those feelings give them the motivation and momentum to continue. Yeah.
Do you bring them to the site to
Yeah.
see the work that's been done or the effort that's been put in? You do?
Yes. Yes. So even for the workshop or for just like in the workshop or training, they also join us in person. Even during the COVID time, that we also show them, because we have different stakeholders, and then some of them they're from other countries, some of them in the local, because we have to engage different stakeholders for that. Because if I talk about my project, is maybe they don't trust it so much, because sometimes you make up because this is yours, but then when you hear from other people to talk about that, to show from other people, it will be more interesting and more trust from them for the project. Yeah. And of course,
so does it mean that they talk to the beneficiaries of the project, or they talk to the volunteers in your team?
they do both of them. They do all. So some of the project that they come to the community and to talk to the beneficiaries. Some of them, like we invite beneficiaries to our workshop or training to talk to our stakeholders and volunteers. And also the volunteer also get in touch with the stakeholders. I mean, in the grassroots level, they had a chance to engage together. Yeah, to talk to each other even.
So in this way, you bring the stakeholders right into the place where they see the project being done or built. You were just not talking about not just in Vietnam, but also in the region that you're doing these projects. Could you talk a little bit about that? Like in what kinds of regions?
So in regional level, that we cooperate with university in Thailand, that we implement the project, the training for university students. in 2 universities in Thailand. And yeah, so we bring our stakeholders to Thailand, not all of them, but some of them to go to Thailand and then get the training to talk to the beneficiaries there and to also hear about their stories about plastic waste in Thailand. And we engage and we share the experiences from both sides, from different society contexts about the issue. Yeah.
So it means that there's a lot of cross-region or cross-country sharing
Yep.
about talking about how to reduce the
Yes.
pollution caused by single-use plastic.
Another region that's in Europe, so I have a chance to go for Erasmus project that I got a chance to share with young people from Europe countries. And yeah, I also share that the issues in the plastic issues in ASEAN region or in Vietnam particularly, and also get them kind of the training, the sharing section in that event. Yeah.
In all your travels and attending conferences, participating in leadership programs and all that, what are some of the most interesting ideas that you've heard about reducing environmental pollution? I mean, not necessarily just plastic. I mean, have you heard any interesting ones?
So for this one, I can pick 2 examples. One from the Philippines during the COVID time. I got as a speaker for one event about plastic waste. And I heard that during that, there's another speaker from that country as well. And she also shared that in her country, there's an initiative, also the eco bricks, but they use machine to make it as like the brick. So yeah, it's not just put into the bottle, but more about like machine made, and it's more commercial things. Yeah. So what EVOL did is that to make eco bricks by the water bottle and plastic, different kind of plastic. We did that because we want to engage more people and to create the momentum for people to change their habit of keep the plastic and then make the another one as an eco brick. Just one example. They can make a different one, but we start with eco brick because with that one, anyone can do it in any age. Somehow, like the whole family can join together, and it happened. So our volunteers who joined our project also share with us that my whole family, like my husband also joined me, my kids also joined me. So that's really changed the habits for the whole family, and that's the good thing that we got the good feedback from our volunteers. Yeah, so this is the main point of even what we did. So come back to your question that from the Philippines. So I think this is really interesting because it's more commercial that they can produce in the mass production, and they can make them with the better quality because with machine they have plastic brick and it's ready for building even the 2 floor or 3 floors of the house. Another one I can say is in Italy. So last year I got a chance to went there again for the Erasmus project. And the way people in that town in Italy, in the south of Italy, so I'm really interested in the way that they collect plastic and the trash, the waste in general, because that area is not really flat. They like up and down like a hill a lot. So they use donkey to collect trash, waste in general, and it is separate from day to day, which day we will collect which one. And it's happened for like 15 years already. So even before that's really recognized about plastic waste, yeah, but they did in that town, they did it. And the government also shared with us that this is really like a natural way that it become the habit and tradition from that town. So what has really impressed me, yeah.
So it's also interesting that a donkey is also involved.
Yeah, yes. So they told me that the reason why they involved donkey because the one thing that because of the landscape is really up and down, so the vehicle is hard to go up to the hill. So donkey is easier And the second reason why they use donkey, because they want to engage, when, and we also follow them to go to some household to collect the waste. And when donkey came with the man, people come and say hi, like they got a really good conversation.
They're actually
in
having
Italy.
a good interaction with the person
Yeah.
who brought the donkey to collect
Right,
the trash.
Yeah, and also like say hi to donkey and give them some bananas and stuff. Yeah, so it really, socialize, communicating between people and people, not just like in our country. So come the trash truck come to the town, and then they just pick trash and go.
And throw, and go.
Yeah.
Right? You don't engage with the person who picks up your trash.
Yeah, so that's why it's really interesting to me when I saw that one in Italy.
Wonderful examples, because while I like the concept in the Philippines where they make it into a like Lego type of bricks, which probably makes it easier to build, right? So you just fix the bricks together. But I didn't think about the aspect where you talked about where, like in Vietnam, under your initiative, everyone in the family gets a chance to make the bricks together, or at least get into the habit of understanding how you're giving plastic a second life, right? Sometimes when we look at outside the world, outside our country, for instance, there's so many fascinating examples of how they are doing it in their way for themselves. In your case, when you are working with the community in this way, I know you talked about engaging stakeholders and making sure that they come and see the project for themselves rather than just you sending them photos of the project from time to time. What interesting comments have your stakeholders said about your project when they go with you to see these projects?
I will pick the project with building the house for the
Orange.
for Agent Orange family. So when I bring my stakeholders to the field to meet their family, so their family, because they got the Orange Agent, so the couples were quite old, and the kids, the children, they got like dumb because they get the affection from Orange Agent. So we couldn't talk too much with them because they cannot hear, and also they cannot speak. But then they are so exciting when we told them that they will have a new house, and before they live in just like a tent. That's why we choose that family to support them. When the rain come and 8 people in that family got wet and stuff. So when our stakeholders from Ho Chi Minh to go to that field, she was really touched. And even we cannot communicate a lot with the family members because they have some problem with speaking and listening. But we saw that how happy they were. And that gave us the motivation to continue that project. At the beginning, we got some problem with local government because we cannot build a house in that land. But then we try to convince the local government. So we show them the project. We show them why we support this family. And they got an Orange Agent because they are the soldier in the past. So we show them all the things about that, and we convince the local government. And at the end, they're free to let us build a house in that land. When we tell the family people all of the things, they are so happy. And this give us more motivation to continue this project. Yeah, to support them more. Yeah. And then we come back and then we plan the bigger impact to involve more partners and to raise more funds for that family.
In order to build a house using eco bricks, even though of course it's just partly built with eco bricks, but the other part is made with the regular wood and planks and all that, how much would a house like that cost?
For that time, the house for 8 people live there, just one floor, it costs around 100 million Vietnam dong. It's about $5,000 US.
Even with all the help and all that, you still need $5,000 US to get that house built.
Yeah. Okay. And logistic. After that family, that we moved to another province to build the school in Mekong Delta area. Yeah. So, and using eco bricks as a material, building materials, but in different beneficiaries. So for that time that we built the school and we support around 400 students. They're from that village, quite disadvantaged village. Yeah. So we have different kind of beneficiaries for our projects.
How do they get to EVOL and say, hey, EVOL, can you build me a school? Can you build me a home? How do they get to the process of working with EVOL?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. They don't reach out to us directly. Actually, we reach out to them based on our network. We have the big network for our projects. Because we implement different projects in different areas, even in Vietnam or in ASEAN region. And we also share our initiative in the US, in Europe. So somehow the network is quite broad. And when we come up with the idea of this initiative, that we seek out to the available stakeholders and who are interested in it at that time, and we involve them. And for the beneficiaries that we got them nominate from our network, even from our stakeholders. And then we go to the field to evaluate the real situation of that community. In different projects, we have different requirements. So the criteria to choose the beneficiaries. So yeah, so if they fit our criteria of choosing a beneficiary, we will come to them, reach out to them, approach them, and to do the pilot trip. And then we continue to plan with our stakeholders. And then we implement the project in that community.
How long is a project for your team?
So it just depends. Sometimes it just lasts for 2 weeks if we understand that area quite well, or sometimes it takes around like few months to evaluate, to get some pilot trip, even for 2 or 3 times, to make sure that they're the right beneficiaries for our projects.
So right now, do you work within or around the Ho Chi Minh City area, or do you cover the whole of Vietnam?
Basically in the south of Vietnam, yeah.
So anything in the south of Vietnam would be okay for EVOL to be involved with, right?
Yes.
Like involved in projects and initiatives. So people come to you and recommend that there are certain people who need a building or need a house or need something very much in the community, and then that's where EVOL steps in.
Yeah.
So there are 2 things I want to talk about there. Since you talked about this part about your network. One is the network, which I will want to come back to later. But the other question that I had in my mind was, how do you get your funds? Because like you mentioned, it costs $5,000 to build a home. So where does that resource or that money come from? And how do you do it?
Yeah. So funding is the financial thing is one of the biggest issue for any project or NGO or social enterprise. Besides the support from our stakeholders, from volunteers, we also need the grant, the fund to maintain it and to run it. So as the person who worked on this field for like almost 10 years, that we got some resources that we can seek out to our funding and support. So we seek from crowdfunding, we seek grant funding from the foundations, from our network, personal network as well, my personal network. And we also apply for the grants that the program that I am the alumni or the partner with. And for the project that we have done with Orange Asian Family, that's a really interesting thing about how we raise funds for that project. We come up with 2 events because, in different stakeholders, they involved in the project, they bring the new idea in the project. This is one point that I really love to work with my stakeholders and my network. So they bring their creativity and innovative into the project. So in that project, because our stakeholders have idea of creating concert, music events, and another one that playing soccer match to raise fund. So that's the 2 activities that we raise fund through. Yeah.
So does it mean that people have to pay money to play a soccer match?
So so for the music events, they have to pay for a ticket, like you just mentioned. But for the soccer match, that two teams play soccer, and the winner team have the prize, and they donate all the prize to the project. Yeah, so that's the two things that we have done with like creative way to raise fund, and it's really interesting and fun as well at the same time.
Yeah. And this is also brings us back to that point, right? The network. So the network is the one that I would say is the hidden power behind the work and the ability to push these initiatives forward. So you were talking about, okay, personal network, stakeholders bringing their ideas. What is it that you do that enables you to grow this network and keep growing it? Because I think you will need more and more, funding and for all your other initiatives coming up, right? But how do you do that and how do you sustain that? I think that's the more important thing.
So for your question, that's two point how I started it.
Yes.
And how
How
I
you sustain it. You maintain it. Yes.
sustain it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So compared to your point, that I think that network is the key element, the key factor for anything, even for personal thing or professional thing. And I use that in both of my personal and professional life. And it's really useful and support me a lot to achieve my goals. And also I also do the same to my network whenever they need the support from me. So for network, how did I start it? So I start with action. So when I think of the idea, new challenge, I put into the plan and I reach out to the available network. At the beginning, like back to my student life, so I reach out to my classmates, my professors, yeah, and the school and the club to ask their support and to show them my plan. After I finish any projects or any initiative, I share that one to my network because people would love to see that when they put the effort into the project, they put a contribution and how that they contribute to bring the impact, the good impact to my project, to the community that I support. When I show them, I give them the kind of report and show them that it's the impact they have done with their support. And then, just keep updates about the project to them and maintain, that's the way that I maintain at the beginning. And then when my project become bigger and bigger, get more impact, get more engagement, then I get a chance to share my initiative to the bigger community, not only in my area, but also in the whole Vietnam, whole region, even around the world, when I have a chance to go to different places, different countries. So in that event, in that conferences, the workshop that I got the chance to be a speaker, I share with them. And because the project that I have done is good for the community, most of them. So is when we do something good for other people, it's spread the feeling to other people. And we're all human and we would love to do the good thing, right? So it's easy and natural way to engage, to involve people, to attract other people, other network to join us. Yeah, and to come to me to ask me more about our initiative and what we have done. And I have another chance to share more. Yeah, and then get more network. Some of them just ask me, and then if they are not really suitable for my network at that time, they link me to other one. So this is the way that I expand and maintain my network and my support from other people. And whenever I got asked that they need support, or even my mentee asks support, I also, if I cannot do that one, I will link them to my network. So it's the way that when I open my mouth to ask for support, I get one more network. So it's the way, to grow the network, to expand the network, and to involve more people. And so we all know that the network that we build maybe it's not useful for this time, but in the future, who knows? And when they come to us, would they follow us from social media? They know about our what we have done, what we do, and what we will do, and they would love to join hands. And yeah, that's the way.
Yeah, I really love the way you build your networks, because I think it also brings to mind a snowball effect. Like the more people come along, the more people get into your community, your initiatives, your projects, and you're basically expanding outwards every single time you go out to speak, or
Yeah.
every single time you work with your stakeholders. They will probably introduce more stakeholders to you, because
Right.
stakeholders know other stakeholders, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I believe that that's the reason why you're in so many things. You're doing so many things. I read recently that your story was captured in a book. So that's also through the network, right?
Yes. So that network that I just knew when I got nominated as the young leader in ASEAN, in Asia Pacific region, and I met him in Singapore. When I come back to Vietnam, that he came back to his producer from Japan, and he invited me to contribute my story to that book. Yeah, to inspire more people in the region and around the world, because that book is about like over 200 countries, as I remember.
Must be a very inspiring book.
Yes, it's really inspired. Not only about the book, but also the story that people in that book from around the world to share their story that inspired them, and that story inspired the people as well.
Let's talk a little bit about Jolly as a person. So Jolly, where did you grow up?
So I spent most of my time in first 20 years in Vietnam. And then I got a chance to start my business as a social enterprise. So this is the first time I jumped into the social entrepreneur journey. And it's really tough at the beginning, but it's fruitful at the end. I mean, for now, not the end yet, but until now, yeah. And it brought me a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities that I can travel around the world. So I go back and forth between Vietnam and different countries around the world. And one of them is that from Thailand that I study master in Chulalongkorn University. And my major is about international development studies, which is at that time it's quite new in Vietnam actually. I didn't heard that word in any universities in Vietnam at that time. So I studied there in Thailand, and I continue to run my social enterprise. And when I come back to Vietnam after my master program, that I continue to network with my professors and academic environments. Also engage more stakeholders in the region. I get the bigger network in the region thanks to my master program. Yeah. And yeah, I got invited to share my initiative and what we have done, our projects, and even about my story, about my journey to different programs.
Why did you opt to study that particular subject for your master's, when you mentioned just now that not very many people have heard about that in Vietnam? What made you decide that I'm going to go to Thailand to do this?
Yeah, that's a really good question though. So before I got the master program, that I focused on my first social enterprise and to support ethnic people, ethnic youth in the mountainous area, and almost 3 years to support them, to work with them, and I realized that my knowledge needs to be improved because I just bring my experiences and what I have done to run my project. But then when I jump into the project for such a long time, of course around 3 years, not so long, but still it's long enough to let me recognize that my knowledge need to understand them, the community, how to get the better support to them, how to bring more impact in the good way, in the positive way, to make them change their life. and change the mindset of people to be more sustainable. I need to study more. I need to improve more. So it's lucky that come up with that program to me, and it's quite close to Vietnam at that time. There's a program from England. It's 1 year, and it's not too far from Vietnam, so I can, because that time I still run my social enterprise, so I can go back and forth if my team needs some help from me. So just like few hours, like 2 hours, to fly back to Vietnam. And also this program for ASEAN region. So they focus on the ASEAN context, society, policies and stuff.
So that first social enterprise of yours was focused on the ethnic communities of Vietnam.
So actually focus on youth development.
I think youth development is also a common theme in your social enterprises, from the first one to
Yes.
the one that you're running right now, right?
Right,
So
right.
youth has always been, I think, also a passion of yours, besides women's leadership, empowerment,
Yeah.
sustainability issues, and all that. So yeah. So in your case, if just say someone said, okay, Jolly, I want to run a successful social enterprise like you, what 3 pieces of advice would you give that person, since you have experience running 2 different types of social enterprises? You've been in this for 10 years.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Around 10 years.
10 years, and you've had so much experience doing it, working with people on the ground and working with various stakeholders.
You just mentioned around 10 years. Oh, I realized that my first chapter of my career just closed. So I just share that in my social enterprise that I focus on youth development, and then environmental sustainability, and then women empowerment. When you hear that, maybe you think that it's not related to each other because it's different fields, sectors, but actually they link to each other. So I start with youth development because at that time I was young. So I understand what young people need and the challenge for us at that time. So because I'm a part of them, I also got the network that can support me to support other people, other young people. So that's why I start with that. And along the way that I support them, for example, support young people in an ethnic community, that I realized that environmental sustainability is with the sector I need to jump in, because I need to share more with them to empower more. And then I seek out my master program. And thanks to my professor, is really great in that field, environmental sustainability, and he inspired me a lot to dive deeper in that one. So that's why when I come back to Vietnam, I dig a little bit deeper in environmental sustainability. But of course, youth development also, I link them into my second sector, which is environmental sustainability. So empower more young people to take action into the issue. Yeah. And then for the last one, that with women empowerment, that also young women, so still young people there. Yeah. So it's linked, all of them linked together and support each other. And the network that I built, they're also involved in those fields. And they got interest on that, they got resources on that, and even the volunteers. So yeah, so I can say that they link together, not separate at all. And for back to your questions, that I can give some advices for people, especially young people. They love to jump into the social entrepreneurship journey, right? So based on my experiences, I start with the passion, because when I deal with something, I really love to understand, get knowledge, or to see what it is. So it's start with the passion, and what I say is curiosity, right? Yeah. So something I want to discover. Yeah, I start with that. So I think that's also the advice that I can give to young people out there. Like anything that you are curious about, and then you want to dive deeper based on your curious, and then you put the passion on it. And the second one, that we go with the commitment, because even the passion give us the start, But if we don't make the momentum to continue, like commit to our plan, our action, it will nothing at the end. And the last one, strategy and planning. So we start with our passion, our curiosity about the problem, about anything that we care about. And then we got a commitment to continue it, that momentum. But then the strategy, thinking, and the plan give us the on track. So if we got the good strategy thinking and the good plan, it will help us to reach the goal at the end. Yeah. So that's the three advices I can give to young people out there if they want to start on this and jump into this journey. And I think that's also for any aspect of our life and any career. Yeah.
I was very curious when you mentioned the 3 pieces of advice. I mean, passion and curiosity is the first one, right? And the second one, you have to have commitment to see it through, to make sure that it happens. And the third one is strategy and planning. Are you a person who loves strategy? Because the strategy and planning, planning, of course, people would definitely love to make plans and create plans. But sometimes strategy is hard, right? Because strategy is long term.
Right.
Planning, I mean, anyone can make a plan, but the person to have a strategy for that plan for the long term, that is difficult. So that probably will be another topic for another day. Like, how do you get into a strategic mindset so that not only you, but your team understands this is a strategy, this is what we're going to do. And because of that, this is also what we're not going to do, because there are too many things out there that will distract us, right? Because I'm sure there are tons of people coming to you and say, Jolly, we could do this together, or Jolly, we can also try this initiative, or, multiple things will come at you. So it's also part of it. I wanted to ask you, like, how do you say no to the different things coming at you?
I think that you are right. Planning is easier. Everyone can plan, but given the strategy thinking is not that easy as we say, right? For me, at the beginning, I'm not really good at strategy thinking, to be honest. So I just work and I gain experiences. I evaluate it whenever I finish the project. And I pick out the things that I have done and not done yet. So evaluation is really important, because when if we don't evaluate, the things will happen again. The good thing will happen again, and also the bad thing will happen again. But then I got that habit thanks to one of my volunteer stakeholders engaged in our project, and I learned from her a lot in that one. Look back to the project and what I have done and what I have not done, and then I improve it project by project. So this is the first thing that I have done to improve my strategy thinking. And the more I get experiences, the more I engage, and the more I get sharper thinking, because it's in my field. And I got feedback from other stakeholders, from a network, even from volunteers when I talk to them. Just like open talk, open communication, to listen to their feedback about our project, even about me. I use their feedback as the stepping point to sharper my strategy thinking for the next project. At the beginning, I jump into like each step of the project, to experience it, to understand it, and then for now I can have the ability to see the overview, the whole project.
So you no longer need to be fully in that project itself. You can look at it as an overview and manage from the outside, so to speak.
Right. Yes. For now.
Okay. So great tips about strategy, because I think a lot of times that's the part that trips us over, because strategy is difficult, not easy. Planning, like we say, planning is a lot easier. So I hope this part would be really beneficial to all of listeners, especially those who are thinking of, it doesn't matter whether you're starting a social enterprise or not. It applies to everything in our lives. right? Yeah, you need to have strategy, and you need to have planning, you need to have a commitment, and you definitely need to have passion and a sense of curiosity about life. So now that we're almost at the end of our interview, where can people find you if they want to help you expand your network, expand their own network?
What a good combination. I also would love to send one message to our audience. So just roll your sleeve and then take action, do things, and then you learn from it and develop it. During the way that you evaluate it and learn from your mistake, that's also bring you the really good point of how to build a strategy, how to get the sharper your strategy thinking. So yeah, just do and then learn from it, and then develop your strategy thinking. Network is really important not only in social entrepreneur journey, but we believe that it's for any aspect of our life, right? And we also use that network to support other people as the way that we pay forward. So for that one, thank you so much for giving the second opportunity to share more deeper and another aspect about my work to our audience, especially for about networking, building the partnership. And so to build a network with me, you can reach my LinkedIn, and I will send my LinkedIn profile and the link to Krista.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the show notes that comes out with this episode. And
Yeah.
in the same, on the same topic too, I would like to give a shout out to our network that brought us together for Good Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are very helpful partners of ours. So one of the good things about networking, and perhaps this is a little story I want to share, is I met Tran in Hawaii.
Oh.
And we met in 2019. We were just talking about women's empowerment, didn't do anything at all. I knew she was visiting to learn more about the program. I mean, the different people that were in the program that I was in, but we never really did anything until last year. Yeah, last year she reached out to me again. I think the year before she reached out to me, and then that's how the network is built, right? I mean, first you make an initial connection, and then you get talking. And then she realized that I had a podcast, and then she was saying that she has this group of very successful, enterprising women in her group that would I be happy to showcase some of them. And I said, great, give me your list of people that you think would fit my show. So that's how networks are built, how we expand.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of it, because we are able to connect different people, and that's how I'm connected to you. Otherwise, if not for her, I wouldn't know you.
Yeah.
So that's the power of network. So I wanted this episode to really showcase, like what you mentioned, the network itself, the partnership building, very important for anyone, as well as the ability to know that, to be able to connect the dots and to see that, okay, maybe like you mentioned, maybe not now we can work together, but maybe in the future something could happen and something could come up and we could do something together, whether as the organization or on an individual basis. So on that note, thank you so much. Thank you so much, because I think it's such a good way to conclude our episode. We kind of come back full circle into this concept of networking and partnership building and connecting the dots for each other. So thank you, Jolly, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
We just simply naturally shared a story, and we didn't know that will happen in the future, right? Maybe 5 years, 10 years, even more. Yeah, like network that bring back to us any good opportunity. Yeah. And the new network.
And new networks too, because from every network that we grow, we have the opportunity to grow other new networks. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
I trust you found today's episode engaging and insightful. The best interviews you see are heartfelt conversations. In these moments, the dialogue flows effortlessly and seamlessly, leaving both myself and my guests content and gratified by the exchange. This is why I made the decision to invite Jolly to re-record this episode with me. As I continue to evolve in my podcasting journey, there are occasions when I must make the executive choice to either air or hold back an episode. Allow me to share a little behind the scenes insight. When an episode doesn't truly showcase the brilliance of my guests, I'm faced with a tough call of starting afresh. Fortunately, such instances have been infrequent, and I'm profoundly grateful to collaborate with such wonderful guests on my show. They consistently embrace my ideas and place complete trust in me regarding the podcast's direction. It brings me great joy to have established this level of trust with my guests. In this season, I also aim to revamp some of the questions and focus on targeted topics that resonate deeply with you. As I mentioned to Jolly once our recording had concluded, I evaluate myself after each episode. Did I facilitate a compelling conversation? Did I provide valuable insights that encourage you to contemplate your business on a deeper, more thoughtful level? Did I effectively showcase my guest's expertise and give you a compelling reason to connect with her? Indeed, podcasting encompasses more than just simply hitting the record button or selecting the right microphone. The more I learn, the more I realize that there's still so much I don't know. If you derive value from today's conversation, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast and share this episode with a friend or colleague who might benefit from it. It's been a genuine pleasure having you here with me, and I look forward to connecting with you again next Friday.